In this House of Logic video, we're going to set up Prometheus and Grafana to monitor some Linux hosts. In other videos that I've done, we've done some installation work, and we're just going to quickly whip through that process here to set up Docker. So the environment that we are running is based on this Docker host ping test, which is actually the host running Docker, and we're going to be running the Grafana and Prometheus instances both in Docker, but we're going to do a native installation of the node exporter that is needed to connect these things together. So this video is going to be based on using the Prometheus Node Exporter, which you can find here on GitHub, which I'll link to, of course, in the description. And there's actually a step-by-step guide that we're going to follow, and then we're going to add a couple of steps to as well. Okay, so let me find my terminal window again, and off we go. So first thing that you will need to do as part of this is to make sure that you've got Docker installed. Now, the Docker installation is very straightforward. When you're logged in to wherever you want to run Docker, you're going to go and do, if you're on Ubuntu or a Debian-based system, first of all, we do sudo apt-get update in order to make sure all the packages are up to date. And that's probably going to go through fairly quickly for me. Yep. And then what you want to do is sudo apt-get install docker.io. Now that won't actually do anything for me because it's actually already installed, but if you haven't got Docker installed, that's what you need to do. The next thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go and install the Prometheus node exporter onto the host that you're going to configure. So if we flip over to that one now, so that's on this other terminal window, and what you need to do here, first of all, if I just grab my commands on my other monitor here, is you're going to go and download the node exporter. So these instructions are taken in part from the step-by-step instructions I mentioned a moment ago. So first things first, we will go and download the actual correct node exporter, and they will extract it. So that's done, that's extracted it already, it's nice and quick. Then we need to copy the actual installation, the executable into the user local bin directory. Excuse me. Whoops, let's do that with the sudo. Okay, so there should now, in fact, if we do sudo -s, we can go into user/local/bin, and we should see the node exporter application there, which we do, which is great. Okay, so coming back out of there, what we also at this point need to do is to go and set up the actual service wrapper, I suppose is the best way to describe it, so to allow it to run under the systemctl daemon. Now, to do this, what we need to do, again, it's a sudo command, but I'm not going to bother typing it in because I've gone to permanent sudo mode with the -s, is we are, sorry, hang on, I'm doing this wrong. I'm going to go and create the file. I was going to go in as if I'd cloned it from the repo that I will be pasting in the comments. Let's go and grab that now. So I'm pasting the content in. So this this file will tell systemctl basically what to do. We're going to save that, and then what we need to do is we need to add a user that we're going to run as. Again, we're going to use the node exporter user on here, and then what we need to do is we need to go and reload systemctl to make it pick it up. Then we're going to enable it, enable node exporter, which has worked, and then we should be able to start it, and then finally we're going to check that it has started. And when we check that it started, we'll go and see if we can see anything on the port for this interface. So last thing to do here is to do systemctl status node exporter. And there we go, it says it's running, which is a great start. So the next thing to do here, as I said, is that we want to go and check that we've got some metrics. So the IP address of this particular host, our monitoring target host, is 192.168.5.147. 5.147, and it is on port 168. There we are, 9100. Okay, and there is the node exporter, and that's giving us some metrics. Great stuff. Okay, so at this point we will switch back over to our Docker environment, where I've remembered that I haven't actually cleaned up a previous installation, so I'm briefly going to pause the video and sort that out before we go through the rest of the steps. Okay, so back onto the Docker host now, and what we want to do here is we want to continue with our setup, and to do that we are going to enter some commands for Docker to actually start the environment up and glue the whole thing together. So we need to go into the Prometheus directory first of all, and we need to configure what Prometheus is going to be connecting to. So we've got an existing Prometheus config in here, but we're not going to use that one. We're going to use a new one. So Prometheus .yaml file, and for the Linux host that is going to look a bit like this. Now we need to put in the IP address here of what we're going to monitor. So we'll go with 192.168.5.147 on port 9100, and we can then save that. Okay, and then what we need to do for Docker is we need to go and create ourselves a Prometheus data volume. So that looks like this. And with that created, then we can go and stand up the Prometheus container, which looks like this. Again, I'm pasting in entire commands here. I will link through to what we're doing in the description. So with that coming up, so that's on port 9090. Let's go and create a fresh tab. 192.168.5.142:9090. You can see that this is cached previously because this is not the first time I've done this. And we will probably get some metrics. It may take a moment or two. There's some existing metrics. I think actually these are already the Linux metrics coming through, so there is some node information in there. Okay, that looks great. So going back into the terminal window, then what we need to do is we need to stand up Grafana, and we don't need to worry about any folder configuration for this, so it's very easy. We'll launch it like so, and then finally what we'll do is download the image and stand up the container, is what I'm attempting to say, and that is just running now, so it shouldn't take very long, and then we should be able to connect on port 3000, also on the same host. Okay, and that I believe is running, so let's go and update the IP address there, IP address and port binding I should say. And there's Grafana. So the default username and password are admin, which Chrome hates seeing used, so it will complain about it. But then you need to pop in a new, slightly less rubbish password, and you will be in. Your first port of call in here is to go and add a data source. So as a data source, choose Prometheus, and we'll leave it named as Prometheus. You need to put in the full IP address and not just localhost, because it's not running on the same container that you're running Grafana on. So you need the full IP address. You don't need to change any other details on the defaults at this time, and you can hit save and test, and that will be it. It will come straight up. Create a dashboard and add a visualization. You can choose obviously your one and only data source, and then you can choose whatever you like out of here. So let's go with, let's say, node disk IO now on device, and hopefully, in fact, let's actually change that to instance and see what that says. So that's got the IP addresses on. Okay, right, let's go with this. So we'll hit a run query, and of course we don't see very much because it's only just started collecting data, so we'll go with the last 5 minutes. And there we go. It's telling us it's doing absolutely nothing, which is great. Let's see if we can find something slightly more interesting. We'll change it to, let's go with, let's see if we can find the CPU details in here. Memory active bytes. That might give us something a bit more lively. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we can change the title here to Linux Node active bytes, and then hit save, or rather back to dashboard, and then we can save the dashboard. In fact, let's save that, and then we're going to actually tweak this slightly because I don't like the labeling. If you go down to the legend here and set this to custom, we're going to go with instance on this. And refresh, and then we're getting the IP address and port number that it's connecting to. Okay. And if we go back to the dashboard, that is about it. So that's how you create a very basic dashboard and stand-up an environment for Linux. If you want to do something slightly more advanced, what you can do is you can actually configure the actual Prometheus instance. So we're gonna go slightly different tangent this time on this video, which feels like about the 5th time I've done it. But it's all good stuff for different metrics and integrations. So what you would need to do if you go and edit the in fact, what we'll do first of all is we'll stop the Grafana container. If I can find it in my list. In fact, it should just be sudo docker stop Grafana. Okay, then we're going to go and edit the Prometheus. Sorry, I've stopped the Grafana and not the. Oh dear. We'll change it. Brain clearly suffering this afternoon. Sudo docker stop Prometheus is what I meant to do, and we'll go and start the Grafana again because we want that in a moment. Okay, so with Prometheus stopped, you can now do nano prometheus.yaml again, and what we'll do in here is rather than simply having a single target, we'll edit this and we'll add another one, because in our environment, what I didn't mention is there's actually another host that I've already got configured with the same exporter on it, and that's running on 192.168.5.146. Now, all being well, and I haven't practiced this bit, it should allow us to go and add an extra node. So if we pop that in as part of this array, 192.168.5.146 :9100, another single quote at the end, save the file, and then we will go back to start up the correct container this time. Hopefully, what this will mean over on our dashboard in hopefully a few seconds time is we might start to get more than one node appearing on this graph. So let's just give it a moment and see if this sorts itself out. So I will actually quickly check and see if 146 is responding. 146 is responding with metrics. Great. And also on the Prometheus instance, we are still seeing some metrics in some capacity. Let's see if it comes up with CPU. Node CPU guest seconds total. Oh, this is actually just, yeah, this is not letting me see anything in particular detail. I'm not a big fan of the actual main Prometheus interface here, but let's go back over to Grafana. And there we have it. We have two instances. So I didn't need to update the graph there. It has just been able to pick up the different metrics, pulled them into Prometheus, and then been able to display them. So that about wraps it up for this video. I hope this has been useful for someone. Yeah, if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Thanks very much. Bye now.